And I'll share the screen so that we can see the start of the presentation as well. Okay, so I can see it's now 10:30. I'll just give it a minute to see if there's a few latecomers. I can't see everybody down the side. I can just see the ones that were at the top. Everybody okay? Anyone not okay?
I don't know yet.
And I would ask that you put your microphones on mute while we're doing the webinar, so we don't get crashing about sounds and various alarms going off and the rare aeroplane flying over. I'll just give it another, yeah, so look, it's 10:31. I think we'll get underway. So thank you all for joining us. This is our Digital Tips and Resources webinar, which is designed to basically give you a bit of a snapshot of how we've seen the world over the last couple of months and give you some ideas and some thoughts from us and from libraries all over Australia and around the world about what's been going on, what they've been doing, and where we think it's all going to head in the next little while. So the two people you hear from today are myself. I'm Malcolm O'Brien. I'm the Territory Sales Manager for Wavesound and RB Digital for New South Wales, the ACT, Queensland and the Northern Territory. I'd like to introduce our General Manager, Nada Stanolovic, and Nada's going to say a few words to you all and give you some of her thoughts. Nada.
Okay, thank you so much, Mel. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Wavesound webinar today. It's really nice to be able to reach out to all of you in what is really extraordinary times and have a chat about how we can improve service to our patrons. So we've been really working hard. Can you hear, Mel?
Yep, we can hear you.
We've been working hard to continue to deliver our online services, and we're really pleased to hear that many libraries are now looking at opening again, which we're very excited about. We realise it's only potentially 10 people, but really looking forward to our libraries opening again. So whilst physical materials will continue to be important, we can clearly see that the industry has turned a corner and that digital is definitely the area to invest in for increased home and distance services. Our staff, of course, have continued to work throughout to deliver seamless digital content for our libraries in their time of need and enhancing services. So the power of simultaneous e-audio and e-books and e-comics and entertainment and educational services, and of course our unlimited magazine content option, is an important lesson for us all over this period of being at home and libraries being closed. For your online digital service, RB Digital, it's created many thousands of new users, with average new users tripling a week. Libraries have been able to give patrons access to quality content when they want it, while decreasing their cost per loan, which is really critical. This will be important over this coming period as digital usage really ramps up and library budgets and collection management resources become more and more precious for us. So in terms of weekly checkouts, it's been phenomenal. E-mags and e-audios have doubled, e-books have tripled, fold. In fact, overall, our usage increased well over 30% over this time. And we think that many of these users will continue to enjoy the content online. So aside from the best loan models in the industry, we also have really cool collections. And in fact, we're increasing our Australian content. This new financial year, we're introducing 12 new titles per month, which I'm sure Mel's already spoken to many of you about. So that's 144 new audio titles a year, which is really fantastic. So take a look at our Australian and international new releases and backlist, and we think it's pretty evident that our exclusive releases are really second to none. So we'd like this webinar to be interactive as possible. And we'll also have a question time at the end. If you have a question, if you can kind of unmute and then say something and maybe wave, because we can then see you know, who's talking to us. But please sit back and enjoy the presentation by Mal. We've both been working in the industry with libraries for many, many years, and we're so pleased to have so many staff with publisher and library backgrounds, and also professional library staff in our cataloguing and fulfilment areas that really understand your needs in terms of library services. We're really thankful for your business, and we want to continue to partner with you. And in order to do that, we really need to understand what your requirements are and work together to best deliver that. So, as Mal said, please, and of course, we'll answer any questions as we go. And it's over to you, Malcolm.
Thanks, Nada. So for today's agenda, there are three main points that we want to cover. So first up, we're going to look at where we are, and obviously these slides have changed over the last couple of weeks, depending on circumstances changing. So forgive me if a couple of the comments may seem a week out of date, but we think we're pretty up to speed with what's going on. So there's that. Then there's promoting your digital services, your library's marketing toolbox. And never before has digital been so much in demand. And also patrons have become much more used to being, in a very short period of time, in being contacted by libraries and being kept up to speed with what's going on. So we'll cover that for you as well. And then there's the actual platform and the app itself. RB Digital's come a long way in the last couple of years, and we want to just try and showcase to you what we can do, what you can do with it. And we have a full customer service team behind us that you can contact anytime you like, and a marketing team as well. So these things are still critical and will probably remain critical over the next few months while, you know, society sorts itself out and governments work out what they're going to do in terms of opening community buildings and councils and so on and so forth. So it's, as Nada said, questions are welcome, but we will have a full session at the end, and it's up to you whether you want to jump in or whether you want to wait. So where we are right now, I think, as we all know, most of us are at home with lockdown rules being modified literally daily and keeping us up to date with what we can and can't do. Most of your libraries are closed, but some Queensland libraries have opened, and that's been interesting. A library like Brisbane's got 33 branches and has had quite a lot of work behind the scenes to make it function in accordance with the guidelines. What we do think is that older people and those who are vulnerable to COVID-19 won't come out. And this is going to put more pressure on your home library service or your outreach services or your click and collect. So while they could come into the library, a lot of people who are older think they're still at risk. And we don't think you'll see the foot traffic physically, but you will see it digitally and you will see it in demand in other ways. And of course, we've seen a huge increase in digital media consumption. I don't think anybody would deny that. It started literally on day one, and libraries were contacting us immediately to work with them to make it easier for patrons to access the library's collections. Some libraries have shown increases of between 50 and 100%. That's real. We see the stats every day, and we can see certain titles that are popular. No mentioning Malcolm Turnbull, have the loan rates on books like that have been unbelievable. But virtually everybody's up at least 30%. So that's been quite telling that people, when forced, were happy to embrace the platforms to get access to the content. So there's the shift in the patron consumer landscape. The NBN's gone up at least 25%. I think that's an old stat. I think that's probably higher than that now. And there's been a huge increase in borrowing audiobooks and ebooks, obviously, because they're stock standard material that libraries lend every day physically, but suddenly couldn't. And people didn't stop reading and didn't stop listening, they just changed the way they did it. So you can see the very, a steady increase on audiobooks, but a really severe increase in ebooks because people still read more books than they listen to. And so one of the things you'll hear me go on and on and on about, as I do when I visit you, is we have simultaneous loan, front list, new title ebooks, and those titles have been incredibly popular. So what's it all mean? Well, you're still closed, and a lot of you will remain closed until we don't know when. And when you do open, you'll have to open with social restrictions. Social distancing guidelines and restrictions on how many people can be in the library and what you have to do in terms of cleaning and everything else. The other thing that we've noticed is a huge surge in requests for marketing and promotional materials. All of that's available on the WaveSound website. If you don't know how to access that, by all means get in touch with us. We can create all sorts of things for you, but a lot of material already exists. So as we do new titles, we then make marketing materials for those specific titles. 90% of you are increasing promotion of your digital collections. It's like, duh. What else would you do? But it's been a learning curve for a lot of you as well. And I think people have quite enjoyed having a different way of communicating with patrons. And as I said, the pushback isn't there now. People want the information. In terms of budgeting, libraries have had to decide what to do in terms of growing their collections as demand has grown. And so a lot more have been dedicating more of their physical budget into digital. And on top of that, there's been a roughly 20% increase in database subscriptions. So these are things like Transparent Language Online, Atomic Learning, and Universal Class, and so on and so forth. How have you been responding? Well, the first thing you did was shut everything and then work out what you were going to do with staff. And that was a challenge in itself because a lot of library staff didn't have access to mainframe computing within councils. So that all had to get sorted out. And then on top of that, your day-to-day budgeting and spending and everything else, there had to be reallocations of what you were going to do and where you were going to spend it and what was going to be the best way to spend it. And so that was, expanding access and increasing content and digital resources. You'll notice I've got a couple of things highlighted in yellow, and this is me being the broken record, but unlimited offerings that we do now with e-magazines and comics have been extremely popular. So you can get access to full collections by a subscription service. And then those of you who have RB Digital audio and ebooks already, you have 1,000 free titles from us, which are audiobooks, which are unlimited simultaneous loans. And that's one of the things that we've noticed, that as people have found their way around the platform because they couldn't go to the library, the long tail of titles, not new, but lots of very well-known authors providing unlimited simultaneous access, have been getting borrowed and borrowed and borrowed. At the same time, you've had to work out digital programs and how to engage with patrons, how to set up story times, author events. And the other thing that I've highlighted there that you can see, which is e-book clubs. Our new title front list ebooks allow you to set up e-book clubs. You don't have to put 10 or 12 books in a box and wait for someone to come and collect them or try and deliver them. If you can create these digital book clubs with our simultaneous loan ebooks, you'll be amazed at how many people you can get borrowing the same book at the same time. Then there's been inspired programming ideas, and this is where the creativity of librarians have come to the fore, and all sorts of things have been introduced and instigated, from virtual story times to online author events to posting on social media. You name it, you've done it in all sorts of different ways. As I said, with social media, we post a lot on Instagram and Facebook, and if you haven't got time or resources, then you can just tag that and just add your library name and go from there. But We do that on a regular basis, and I'll cover that a bit more. So in your marketing toolbox, we have a number of ideas for you to consider. I know some of you, lots of you are already doing these things. In particular, local PR. If you're in rural areas, with luck, you still have a local newspaper, a local community newspaper, local radio, local TV, and libraries have been using these resources and telling their community what they're doing through these resources. And so there's a myriad of ways you can do it, but we can help with press releases, we can help with content, we can help with suggestions. If you've got a contact in media, someone's got their microphone on. Sorry, folks, if you can mute your microphones, it just saves the sound coming over the presentation. So then there's patron emails and newsletters. If you feature RB Digital and promote simultaneous loan content, which is what we keep going on about, plus your instructions on how to sign up or register. If you're promoting single-use platforms, you're creating problems for yourself because people go on to borrow and they can't, and they create holes, and you've got to do something about it. So the same thing with social media. You can use Facebook, Twitter. Instagram's particularly good because it's a single image, usually a shot of the book itself or the title or the author with a simple message and a call to action. And then targeting your key segments, so focusing on key book clubs, meeting specific needs or anything along those lines that you can use so that people can access the library digitally. So local PR, you know, we had myriad examples of this, but a lot of it involved local newspapers or local Facebook pages where you could post what was going on in the library and what digital services were available through your library. In the past, this has been a fairly contentious area about contacting patrons via email. So I know there's a lot of laws in place about whether people want to be contacted or not. If you have mailing lists that you can use, this is a fantastic way of directing people to what you want them to see. So this is where we say, have a clear call to action. So if you're promoting an app or a service, how to register and how to log in. Simple, clear instructions that they can follow on the screen. And then again, sending emails promoting unlimited and simultaneous use titles means that when the demand comes from your promotion, that you haven't then created a problem for yourself and a problem for patrons because they can access the material that you're promoting. And so this is where, I've got a few titles on the screen there that you can see. You pick a magazine, you pick a comic, you pick an ebook, you pick an audio book, and you pick things that are actually in the news at the moment. So Treacherous Countries just won the Vogel, and Malcolm Turnbull took virtually all the media airspace for about a week and turned what was going to be pretty pedestrian political biography into a bestseller, which surprised everybody really, but it just shows the power of a really good marketing campaign. So maximising your social media reach, I know this depends on your resources and your staff, but what we try and get across to you, there's 4 weeks in the month. Many of you have audiobooks, ebooks, comics, and newspapers, magazines from us. If you pick a different format for the month, for each week of the month. So week 1, you might do audiobooks. Week 2, you might do ebooks, then magazines, and then comics. Include your library's URL with each of the posts. If you can't do this, then talk to us and or either just repost or share our social media posts. But we can, as I said, we put all of these images in all the various formats on the WaveSound website under digital marketing tools. If you want to do something else, if you want to do a title we haven't picked, or you want to do a collection of magazines that we haven't grouped, talk to us, because we can easily put together something for you that's simple and easy to use, and you can go from there. Targeting key segments of your market. I mean, this is sort of marketing 101 really, but thinking about who can't get to your library and what they use your library for, and then going back out to them with those particular digital resources that you have. So targeting language through transparent language, learning a new instrument or painting through artist works, doing children's, the kids are knocking over their schoolwork in 2 or 3 hours in the morning, got nothing to do in the afternoon. Putting up kids' audiobooks, kids' ebooks, and comics and magazines is a great way of getting parents to understand they can access material via the library and give the kids something to do. Then, of course, there's the adults that are all suddenly discovering their newfound passion for whatever. So you can, again, direct them towards the resources that you've got that they can access digitally. Customizing marketing materials. So we put out a weekly social media email. If you haven't subscribed to that, by all means do so. And we're just basically telling you what's going on in terms of the sort of titles that are being published, the things that are making news, the things that are being reviewed. And if you're getting that email, it gives you a quick snapshot of what's going on, and then some tips and tricks about what to do with that material during the particular week. And as I said, we post, so share our posts and share those with all your patrons, and that gets the word out what's going on. You want a different title, email Vanessa with the title you'd like to promote, and we can do that for you. So you can see some of the instances below there. So you've got collections of magazines or collections of audio books. And it's just a way of letting people know that the range of resources that you have from us are really extensive. And of course, once they've got the app, whatever content the library has signed up to then appears just in one app. So they don't have to then sign into 2 or 3 or 4 apps to actually access different formats. So then getting the most out of RV Digital as a platform. So this is a really interesting exercise that we see as, and we call it sort of the maturing of patrons once they get it. And so initially people sign up, get the app, potter around, usually borrow the first thing in the top left-hand corner that they see because they just go, wow, I can borrow that. And then they listen to it or they read it. Over a period of time, as you educate them and as they sort of get the hang of it themselves, they start to discover the search functionality. And once they've got to that point, then they really do discover what's available. And so over a period of time, we see their loan horizon starting to expand. And one of the things I do is look at stats all the time, look at what people are borrowing, because after you get the hang of what your patrons are wanting, then you can start to add content into the platform to satisfy that demand. So we'll cover some of the things that we can do. So firstly, when COVID-19 happened and the libraries closed, libraries suddenly had to allow different forms of membership. So up until this point, as a lot of you know, you could sign up for a library card, but you had to appear in person at the library to get it. And then that gave you full access to the library resources. But these were thrown out almost straight away because it was just too difficult to work out ways of doing it. So access restrictions were relaxed. Libraries offered virtual cards, so you could just go to the library website, sign up and start accessing material straight away. A lot of fines that were hanging around blocking access were waived, and then usage limits were expanded as well so that patrons could borrow more of things that they wanted without having to keep coming back and signing in. We were there right from the start, helping libraries to do this and showing them how easy it was to change the access options for patrons. And we removed a lot of the authentication, the strict authentication restrictions that were there for desktop and mobile registration. We do have a full support team through info@wavesound.com.au. At the end of this presentation, there's a list of contacts within our business that you can use. You can contact us anytime. If you accidentally ask the wrong person, they'll tell you the right person to go to. But you know, a lot of us have seen our role in the last few weeks as a support role and a customer service role on top of whatever else our responsibilities are, and we've managed to make a lot of roadblocks go away, and we're still there to do that if you've got questions. This is our custom carousel feature. A carousel is just simply a row of books that appear on your library website and in the app on the home page. So it's available for audio and ebooks. And what it means is that whatever you have in your collection, we can actually create a carousel around. So it can be a particular range of titles that are always available. It can be an author collection. It can be a genre collection. You can do crime, you can do romance, you can do historical fiction, you can do biography. And as we've been doing this with libraries, we see every time we change the carousel, the loans go up. So what's happening is, patrons log in every day or two to see what's going on. If you're putting new material in front of them and they can borrow it straight away, well, they do. And then that leads them to understand, the breadth and depth of the collection, to explore a bit more and start to interact with you in terms of what they want to be able to borrow. So we can teach you how to do it, or you can ask our customer service team to specifically do things for you. We routinely change the carousels to reflect what's going on in the industry. So we did, for example, the Australian Book Industry Award long list a few weeks ago, and we put that up on a lot of different platforms to show people the titles that we had that were available, and they got very heavily borrowed. The two headers you see there, the always available, no waiting, no holds, is a really attractive call to action, that people see that and think, great, I can borrow it. And so, as you know, the majority of our content is simultaneous loans, so we can play around with all sorts of different versions of those carousels. Another one that's been really popular is ebooks for book clubs. And so selection of ebooks, not a huge amount, but in the news, up-to-date, brand new titles that are winning awards and being reviewed, that book clubs generally like to do. And you're in a sense, by creating the carousel, guiding them to a selection that is available digitally now. So why simultaneous or unlimited? Well, it's pretty obvious. So, but I'll go through the points. Limited funds. Unfortunately, libraries aren't making any more money. And so with the pressure that this has created for your digital collections, what are you going to spend your money on? If you spend your money on single-use titles, you're running the risk of creating holes and creating frustration and turning patrons away. We know this anecdotally from libraries all across Australia, where you've got a hold on something that goes into August, September, October. You're under pressure to buy more copies, you buy another copy, and all that happens is it goes on hold again. And we think there's a huge amount of patron drift, that they've got access to these titles. They have to pay for it usually, but they will if they want it. But if you can get them when the title's in demand, when it's the Malcolm Turnbull and it's out right now, if you can lend it, we've had extraordinary numbers of loans on some of these things, literally in the hundreds in a matter of weeks. And if you just think about how long it would take you to lend a single user title 100 times, well, I can tell you, every 3 weeks, 4 a year times 7 years, that's how long it takes. And so we don't think people want to hang around for 7 years to borrow something. So that's really what the point of a lot of this presentation is. Libraries are no different to any other source of content for people, be it a bookshop or an online shop or a library. When people want the title, they want it right now. And the only way you can do it is if you've got it in simultaneous loan. So what we're suggesting, funnily enough, is that you allocate more funds into simultaneous loan to meet the digital demand. As we come out of lockdown, we think that now people are, in particular with the front list ebooks and the audio books, the experience that they're having with their devices that are so sophisticated now that it's as good as the physical product. And so, yes, they've been forced into it, but we don't think a lot of people will go back to physical if their experience that they're having now is a good one. And so, yeah, sure, there's going to be people coming back and wanting to borrow books and all of the other things that you do, but a lot of people are going to stick. So just to cover some of the things, at the end of the day, libraries are about content, and we as a publisher are only as good as the books that we provide to you. So the thing with digital, you don't see the books arriving in a box out the back. You don't unpack them, you don't put them on the shelf. So it's easy to forget what's actually going on in the publishing world, which is one of the reasons I say keep in touch with us in terms of our marketing emails. We try not to waste your time. We try and tell you what's going on out in the world that your patrons are then transferring to the library's demand. So the books, some of the books that we've published here, as you can see, there's the new Gabby Stroud, there's the new Ian Rankin, there's the new Bree Lee, obviously the Turnbull, Shark Arm, the Mothers. All of these are books that are, you know, front list new releases from the best Australian publishers that we've bought the rights to. And what that means is you can only get these from us, and you can only get them in simultaneous loan models from us. So these are the titles that we think that you should be promoting front and center out to your patrons. Some award winners, and awards and reviews have a huge amount of impact on your patrons. So something like the Hilary Mantel, you may have noticed it's a few weeks ago now, but Hilary Mantel was everywhere. This book's the latest in the series, and so that then generates interest in the previous two books, and on it goes. If you, and we did, do Hilary Mantel carousels for libraries, suddenly the old Hilary Mantels got borrowed, and of course the people who read or listened to the first two then borrowed the new one. A little book like A Treacherous Country won an award called the Vogel Award a couple of weeks ago. The Vogel Award's been going for as long as I've been in publishing, and I'm not going to tell you how long that is, but it's a very long time. The first Vogel Award was won by Tim Winton with An Open Swimmer. So it's a very prestigious award. It launches a lot of authors onto long and illustrious careers, and the latest announcement is K.M. Kriminik, A Treacherous Country, and we've got that as a simultaneous loan audiobook. So some more of them. See What You Made Me Do won the Stella Prize a few weeks ago. The Stella Prize, as you all know, a very influential and symbolic award. And See What You Made Me Do is one of our simultaneous loan ebooks. And this has rapidly become, after Malcolm Turnbull, our second highest lending title that we've got out on all the platforms. And it's a very interesting book, very timely book, and you can promote this to your patrons as often as much as you like. A few of the others in the background there: Michael Robotham, the Genevieve Gannon, the Mothers, did Gabby Stroud again, and the ubiquitous Jane Harper. I just want to remind you of Jane Harper because Jane Harper is where we started with our Australian publishing 4 or more years ago, when we just did 3 books a month. And we started with The Dry, and The Dry has since gone on to become one of the most purchased and most purchased out of bookshops and most borrowed out of libraries. And we've had that in simultaneous loan audio all that time. We have libraries that have lent that title 500 times in 4 years. And I'm not going to do the sums on how long that'd take you to lend if you're lending it every 3 weeks as a single user, but it's a very, very, very long time. And so we think that that's allowed libraries to satisfy the demand and then expand their horizons with the Jane Harpers into book 2, book 3. And fingers crossed, we're bidding on book 4, which has been delayed. So just a quick word on that. In terms of content, there are titles moving around a bit because of the way publishers are publishing at the moment. So it's called slippage. So the book slips in terms of publishing terms. And the Jane Harper was due out around about now, but the publishers have held it back, obviously, because of what's going on. We haven't got the rights yet, but we're very, very hopeful, and I'm hoping I can show you the new title from Jane very soon. You might have also noticed just last week, the Australian Book Industry Award was on, and I've picked out these 2 titles as an indication of again, our publishing, but also our formatting. So Bruni and The Weekend won the best fiction title and the best literary fiction title out of all the books published in Australia last year. And so Bruni we have available as a simultaneous loan ebook, a simultaneous loan audiobook. And then The Weekend we have a simultaneous loan ebook and a simultaneous loan audiobook. The scope that this gives you to promote those particular titles when these awards are announced is fantastic, because you can have them. We know people are accessing them in all the different ways, but when you give them the option of the ebook or the audiobook when they can't get the print book, it's a great thing, a great service that you can actually offer. And yeah, so that's pretty much where we're up to. I think I've run a bit short of time. We've got a few minutes left, which is great for questions and things like that. But Nada just wants to say a few words in conclusion, and then we'll hear from you.
Okay, well, just in summary, we've spoken about a number of different areas that I think could be of use to libraries. We've spoken about things like patron emails, our marketing programs. Cessnock, I think, asked a question about carousels, and when we're responding back to you, we will send a link to how to create carousels, which is on our website. So that's a video that you can watch and learn how to do carousels, or of course you can contact Malcolm or contact customer services. We've also spoke about authentication options, so that's, you know, an area that you could definitely contact us about if you'd like to look at ways of improving and making it easier, you know, for your patrons to access your content. And generally we've spoken about the website and webinar, so please don't hesitate to contact us to learn how to get a password into our website online. So if you're accessing anything beyond just the title content, then you will need to get access into that. So all you need to do is really just email info@wavesound.com.au or contact the office. So there, everybody's still out. That we've got the phone being answered. Julie Buckroyd is answering the phone in the office, and she can pass you on to anybody. But first of all, I'd like to ask if there's any questions at this point, if anyone would like to jump in.
I can't believe it, this many libraries being quiet.
No questions. That's pretty cool.
Well, if you've got no questions, I've got some.
I've just got a question. Howard here from Campbelltown. Will you be emailing us a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that you've just given us?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Email the copy of the PowerPoint and contact names and that link as well to carousels and any other questions you might have now. So, yep, definitely we'll do that. Is there any other questions? All right, well, I've just got a few and I'll ask them and answer them very quickly. So some of the questions that our customers often ask us is, how easy is it to add content onto our business? And essentially, if you've got a platform or you've got, for example, magazines, which most libraries in Australia do have with us, easily add ebooks and audiobooks. In fact, that can be done, you know, very, very quickly. So yeah, it's pretty easy to add to your platform at any time. And another question is we get, what other services do we offer? Obviously, we do all of the educational, so Universal Class and Who Knew It, Transparent Language Online. That's Mel asked about that. We also do newspapers on RB Digital, so we can also offer that. And we have streaming video, which includes indie flicks, movies, indie movies, Learn It Live, and great courses, which are also available through streaming, all through RB Digital, all through the one login for your patrons, which makes it really easy. Another big thing we get asked is about reporting. How do I get my stats on the services that we have with RB Digital? So we do have some information on the website, again, on getting set up with RB Digital. And we can also provide information to you through customer services and the sales team. We do have some new dashboard reporting on the website as well, which kind of gives you a quick overview, a quick glance of how your services are performing. But we'll also take any questions at any time. So if we can help you, and I realise at this point in time there's probably lots of questions, but please do reach out and we can help you with any usage or reporting that you may need. So we will, as I said, we'll send the contact details, we'll send the PowerPoint presentation and some information about the carousels, but mostly I'd like to really thank you for your time today. You know, we're really happy to discuss any of these elements with you. We're all working, we're all here to help you. Justin's asked a question, how do we get access to dashboard stats? So that's through the website. So you do need access to the website.
If you've got a Wavesound website log on, the dashboard and reporting is just appearing in the top bar there now. If you click on that, it's fairly straightforward and intuitive in how to use. A couple of things I did want to mention as well before we go. We're coming up to the end of the financial year and many of your platforms are due for renewal over the next few weeks. The big change to magazines is we're offering an unlimited magazine model, which is access to all 3,600 magazines. So if you'd like to talk to me about that, just drop me a line or give me a ring. The people who've subscribed to it so far, it's been fantastic because instead of having to pick and choose your magazines and pay an admin fee, both of those things disappear. So you just get your patrons see every magazine that we have from around the world. You don't have to pick which ones you can afford to subscribe to, and there's no admin fee for that model either. So if you just think simply in terms of if you've got patrons who like knitting magazines and you've got one or two that you subscribe to at the moment, suddenly they'll see every knitting magazine from around the world. Same with four-wheel driving, same with business and finance, same with sport. And we think it's going to be a real game changer with mags. The early indication is the stats start going through the roof because suddenly patrons see all those other magazines in their areas of interest. The other thing that you'll probably want to talk to me about is your standing orders or profile standing orders for digital content and physical content. As Nada said, we're all working at the moment. If you need help with that, we've got the order form ready to go now. I've contacted you a lot already with your pre-existing plans and suggested plans for the next year. Advice on what to do in terms of budgeting. How are you going to allocate your budgets over the next 12 months? You know, should you increase your spend on this? Should you decrease your spend on that? How do you get the balance between what you used to buy in CD and MP3? And then what are you putting in your digital platform? Do you need multiple copies? All of those things, you know, we're there to help. Obviously, we run a business, but we see it very much as a partnership with libraries, that every library is different and we can tailor-make different plans for different libraries and help you manage, you know, your limited amount of money. So if you do want any help with that, obviously I can't come and visit you like I normally do at this time of year, but I do a lot of virtual meetings, and we can catch up that way.
And just Mel, just to reiterate about we do have a May discount on for e-audio. So that's till the last business day in May, which is 30% off. So if anybody would like to take advantage of that, you know, please contact Mel, and all the titles, of course, are on the website, so you can place that really easily. But yeah, as Mel said, please talk to us. We're here to help, and we really value your business. But we'd like to, we hope you enjoyed the webinar, and of course we wish you health and stay safe.
We'll see you all when you get back to work. So, oh, you are at work, just in different places. All right.
We can't wait to.
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to end it now, and I'll see you all when I see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.